but we are going to be talking about the book creator you never knew. All right. So there are quite a few things in Book Creator that maybe are hidden, maybe some new features, some ideas, things like that, that we are going to talk about tonight to get you all excited about Book Creator. All right. And so the first thing we're going to do is talk about that, right? We're going to talk a little bit about why Book Creator, give you some review of some of our favorite resources and new features. We're going to demo those, and we're going to make sure that we have some Q&A time towards the end. And so one of the things that I want to share, and if I've shared this before and you've been on a webinar with me, my apologies. But if you have not, I do always like to kind of go back and look at this book. And I think it's just really important. And this is our Why Book Creator book. And you can find this in our Discover section. So if you are interested in looking at this book again, sharing this book with other people or other colleagues of yours, that's fine. You can certainly do that. But I really think that Book Creator has the opportunity to transform classroom engagement. I get emails from teachers almost daily talking about how much they love Book Creator, how much their kids love Book Creator, and I think that's great. I think enjoying the tool is definitely a big part of it. But what I think is important about the enjoyment of Book Creator is the fact that it really can transform that classroom engagement for you. And when we say engagement, I want to make sure we talk about what I believe that means, because I think a lot of times when teachers hear the words engagement, they think of the word fun. And a lot of times, for me, at least in my experience, what I have seen is the older the kids get, the less likely it is that, fun is like top of the list, right, of things that need to happen. A lot of times I'll say, hey, Book Creator is super engaging, and teachers like, I don't have time for fun. I've got too much stuff to cover. I don't have time for fun. Engagement can be fun, but it does not mean fun. All right. And if you don't believe me, think about your own life, both personally and professionally. There are plenty of things that I am fully engaged in that are absolutely not fun. As a matter of fact, a lot of things personally and professionally can be quite painful. But I am still fully engaged in the process because I know what the outcome is going to be. And that makes it important to me. So engagement can be fun, but it doesn't have to be, right? And so I always like to talk a little bit about that word engagement. The second thing that I think is really important to kind of remember is that Book Creator can be used for everything. All right. It doesn't matter what you teach. We're going to talk about that tonight some more, but Book Creator can be used for every single subject. And I always kind of laugh and tell people that I pride myself on always having an answer for people. So when they ask me, or they try to stump me and say, well, you can't use Book Creator for this. I'm always coming up with an answer for how to use Book Creator. I'm undefeated, all right, in this game. So nobody has been able to stump me yet. And so if you do think that you can stump me, then let me know. I was in New York, 2 weeks ago, I guess, and we were doing some school visits. And in one of the trainings, this lady shows up, and I asked her what her name was, and she said, "Oh, my name's Margaret." And I asked her what she did, and she told me that she was the athletic department secretary. And so I was like, oh, okay, great. And then my mind immediately went into this. Well, how am I going to keep her entertained? What am I going to do to show her the value of Book Creator? Right. And so I'm thinking about this as I'm going through the training. Training is over. And I said, all right, does anybody have any questions? Anybody excited? She jumps up out of her seat. She goes, oh, I'm so excited. And she's like, I've already got 5 ideas for how I'm going to use Book Creator as an athletic department secretary. And she ran out of the room, right? So I was like, all right, I didn't even have to convince her. So you can use Book Creator for everything. You can also use Book Creator with every student, all right? Does not matter what age they are, does not matter their ability level. Any student I guarantee you, any student will be able to use Book Creator given a couple minutes to play around. I have used Book Creator with students as young as 3 and as old as 98 and everywhere in between. And you can be no different. All right. And I love how we have a couple examples here on this page where we've got students doing speech to text. We've got students doing American Sign Language inside of books. There really are endless possibilities and endless results from every single student. So I absolutely love it. Your kids love making stuff. They want to be able to share that stuff out there with other people. And if you don't believe me, just go look at YouTube, go look at Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is out there that kids like to use. They like to make things, and they like to be able to share those things with others. All right. And that I think is important. And I think it's important that we take that love and we bring that into the classroom. And Book Creator is a great way to do that. Super easy. I'm assuming most of you have used Book Creator at some point before, and there's just a couple of buttons, so everybody can use it. So it's super easy. No complicated file menus that are going to get anybody all tripped up. And education is really at the heart of everything we do. Dan Amos, our founder there, he is a software engineer for another company, or was, and then his son was diagnosed with dyslexia very early on, and his son's educational path. And so Dan decided to create Book Creator to help his son be able to read books that he created and be able to write books about anything that he wanted. And that made a huge difference for his son and for teachers all over the world. And I guess the other thing I just wanted to kind of share real quick is that because kids love Book Creator, this image right here kind of sums it all up. All right. I mean, that look on that girl's face right here in the middle, she is thrilled. This kid is completely excited. And this girl right here, she's like, look, she's like pointing to something like, look how cool this is. And these kids are just going absolutely crazy. And if that's what you want in your classroom, then you're in the right place. All right. You're in the right place. And I also love this quote too, about the impact of Book Creator. This was Sean McGusker. He was speaking at ISTE at our booth. And one of his quotes was, if you took a bucket of Legos, all right, and you just put the bucket of Legos in front of a group of students, how many of those students would be able to build something? All right. And the answer is, of course, all of them, right? Kids will figure out how to use Legos. There's no problem with that. That is what Book Creator is. All right. It's kind of the educational ed tech version of a bucket of Legos. All right. It's just one of those tools that every student is going to be able to pick up. They're going to be able to use it, no questions. English on, better graphic organizers, right? For our next English project on pollinators. There seems to be a few of them available. Why reinvent the wheel? Absolutely. And so we're going to actually talk about some of those graphic organizers here tonight. But yeah, we have 104 graphic organizers actually built right into Book Creator. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight is the thought that we can use Book Creator for more than just some end of month project. Because I think a lot of times, teachers, when you think of Book Creator or any ed tech tool for that matter, a lot of times you're just like, oh, I'll use that for a project. And I really want you to start thinking about how you can use Book Creator for more than just that. All right. Can you use Book Creator to document the learning of the entire process, right? Up to the final product? And the answer is, of course. Right. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So yeah, absolutely love the graphic organizers. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about Assign a Book, LMS integration, literacy templates, library settings, audio hotspots, and if we get to things like text editors, the apps, PDF import, and more, we will get to those as well. All right, so first off, we're going to talk about Assign a Book, all right? And while we're talking about Assign a Book, I'm going to share with you something as well that I think a lot of people don't actually know exists, all right, within Book Creator. So we're going to start with that. In Book Creator, if I click on this Assign a Book text and then click on the inspector, all right, the inspector is that button that allows you to format whatever it is that you click on. So I click on the text, I click the inspector, and then I have some options that pop up. So I can change the size, the colors, and the fonts. If I want to change something else, like the background, I have to click off of that, click the background, and then click the inspector again, and I have a different set of options. If I click this image, I click the inspector, I have new options. So it's a lot of bouncing back and forth, right? Click the inspector, click over here, click the inspector, click over here. And sometimes you kind of feel like a ping pong ball, right? Going back and forth. And sometimes, like if I click this text and click the inspector, it kind of covers part of my page. So I can't see the full text. I can't see the arrow to go to a new page. Kind of a mess, right? Well, there is a button right here inside of the inspector that almost nobody sees, all right, and almost nobody clicks on, and it is this pin right up here to the top left, or top right, sorry. And if you click on that pin, what it's going to do is it's going to shove the book over to the left. It's going to pin the inspector over here on the right. And now I have full access to the book. And every time I click on something different, the inspector is going to match whatever it is that I click on. All right, so that's going to help you with your workflow. All right, so no more hiding and covering parts of the page and no more having to bounce back and forth. All right, now, for whatever reason, my brain, I'm stuck in an old way. I can't handle the pin. I have to leave it this way. But most people who use the pin absolutely love it. So I just wanted to share that with you. All right. Now, assign a book. All right, one of our new features. And so what you're going to do to assign a book to your students is you're going to go into your library, and let's say that we created, some kind of template that we want my students to use. And what you're going to do is you're going to click the share button and you're going to click assign a book. Now you can either assign a book to everybody that is in your library, or once people join your library, you can click a little button and you can pick and choose which kids get that assignment. And what that's going to do once you start the assignment is it's going to automatically make a copy of this book for every student that's in your library. All right. They will be able to edit that copy, and it is fantastic. So no more days where you have to have the students click the book button and copy the book and then hope that they put it into the correct library. Those days are gone. All you have to do now is assign a book. All right, so let's see what that looks like in action. All right, so I'm going to grab the invite code to this library and I am going to put it into the chat window. Now, what you're going to do if you've never joined another teacher's library is you're going to go to your black lines at the top left here, go to your teacher dashboard, and you're going to scroll all the way to the very bottom. And at the very bottom, there's a button that says join a library. You're going to click on that. You're going to enter the code that I just gave you in the chat window, and then you're going to click join again. And when you start joining the library, those copies are automatically going to start populating right here. There's one right there. All right, so there's Mary. So Mary's in there. Mary has a copy of the book now that she can edit. All right, so I absolutely love the ability for us as teachers to be able to just make some kind of template and then just assign that book right to your students. All right, so a very, very easy tool. All right, very easy way to manage things. Now, my colleague showed me this book the other day, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal. She made this book for her students for the students that she works with on the Boston Tea Party. All right, now this is another, again, I want to go back to this idea that you can use Book Creator for more than just this end of month project. And I want to use this book as an example. All right, so if I were to take this book and put it into my library and then assign it to my students, then my students could actually do something with this book. And this book, by the way, is available in the book that I just invited you to join the library with. So if you do want a copy of this book to use for something else, you can certainly do it. But let's take a look at this book here. So I think this is absolutely phenomenal. So right off the bat, we have some interesting things, all right, popping up here. Spying secrets, unveiling tiny details in the pictures. All right, so it says, imagine that you were here. What would you hear, smell, and feel? All right, so over here, we've got this beautiful image of the Boston Tea Party. And then over on the right, we've got 3 questions. What are 3 things you would hear, 2 things that you would smell, and 1 thing that you might feel? All right, so maybe in the chat window, give me something real quick that you might hear if you were inside of this scene right now. And let's see what we've got that pops up in the chat window. 3 things that you might hear if you are in this scene at the Boston Tea Party. And mind you, this type of activity could be done at different grade levels. If you want to do it in front of the class, you can do that. If you want to make a copy for everybody, yeah, absolutely. All right, we've got people yelling, some arguing, people saying hip, hip, hooray, right? Yeah, you never know. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could be going on. Arguing, yeah. What other things might you hear in here? Cheering, yeah, very good. Maybe some waves crashing. Oh, yeah, Rachel got in there. Some splashing of the waves, sounds of the ocean. Yeah, maybe some seagulls, right? All right, what are some things that you might smell right now in this scene? Fish, yeah, salt water, rotting fish, the salty air, absolutely. We were doing this with a group of teachers not too long ago, and somebody said smelly people, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, smelly people. Okay, because if you think back to when this was, we didn't have what running water and showers and things like that. So yeah, there might be some smelly people, right, in this picture. And then what are maybe some things that you might feel? This one might be a little more difficult, but what are some things you might feel in the image that's happening here? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, you might feel excited. Absolutely. Maybe nervous. I was thinking something like even maybe the breeze, right? The air coming off the ocean, right? Or the harbor there. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, there's an example of how you could use Book Creator for something more than just this project, right? You're using this to help students build their background knowledge. Now, I just finished a graduate class on reading comprehension. I'm sure if I asked everybody to raise their hands, if you had students who struggled with reading comprehension, I'm sure that some people would raise their hands, all right, for that. I think reading comprehension is probably a difficult one for a lot of kids across subject areas. But what we're doing in this activity is we're helping students build that background knowledge so that they can relate, right, what's happening in this picture to something personal, which then is going to help them improve their reading comprehension or just comprehension in general. And what I love about Book Creator, and I'm sure most of you could agree with this, is that these boxes that we put here for answers don't have to be just the typical kind of answers, right? So if I copied this book in my own library and I actually go into this book, now I can edit it, right, as a teacher. And when I assign this book to my students, they can edit it. And the way we're going to edit those boxes is by thinking outside of it, right? So instead of just answering questions as text, right, putting text on there, my students could use the plus button. They could find other images. What are three things they hear? Maybe they hear birds, right? And they can say, or they can say seagulls. All right. And we can say, what do we hear in that picture? Seagulls. And we can add that right there onto the box. All right. So this graphic organizer, the way we've set this up, it doesn't always have to be text. Could be, but it could be other things. Maybe kids want to use the audio record button and just record their voices to put their answers down here. I don't have a problem with that. All right, because as long as they're getting out the information the way I want, or what I want to hear from them, that's great. However they want to do it. Now, I love this one too. So it's like, all right, we talked about this. We got a little bit of background knowledge from our own senses and our own, understanding. How can we learn a little bit more? All right, and so in this case, there's an embedded YouTube video. There's an article here from Wonderopolis. And then down here, there's another box where students can talk about something that they learned about the Boston Tea Party that maybe they did not know from before. So you can embed things right into your book creator. So this YouTube video, for example, all you have to do is click the plus button, more, and embed, and then take that YouTube video link and paste it right inside there, confirm it, and now that YouTube video is going to be added right there inside. All right. So again, really, really awesome, easy ways to do this. Keep going. Summarizing the event. This has to be one of my favorites, SWBST. Somebody wanted, but so then. For me, is one of the, hands down, one of the best summarizing tools that you can use. So the SWBST chart. So somebody who was involved, what did they want? What was the problem? What happened, right? How did they solve that problem? And then how did things end? And so again, just another way that students can do this. If you were there, here's another activity, right? So we're taking a look at the boats and we're taking a look at this picture. If you were there that night, what would you have been? Would you have been on the pier or would you have been in the boat, right? And explain why. So again, we're kind of building on student responses or student background so that they can respond. And then there's more activities, right? So you can add video responses in there. What's your biggest takeaway? And you can tell, however you want to put that information in there, you can do it. And then there's some other really awesome activities for students. So to continue to hammer home that, right? Did you know that music can help you remember things? Well, instead of shake it off, let's do dump it off, right? The Boston Tea Party version of a Taylor Swift song. All right, so why not? All right, so lots of things. And then if you finish early, then maybe you can go through and watch this video. I'm sorry, it's 360-degree tour. And then there's even a word search, right? So some of you might be thinking, well, how do you do a word search? In Book Creator? Well, I'm just going to grab the pen. Maybe I go to my highlighter. Maybe I choose a cool color like highlighter glitter. And then I'm going to choose a size, okay? And so then if I want to find something like liberty, I can find the word liberty and I can highlight it just like that, all right? And if I find other words, I can go through here and I can highlight them right there on the page. All right, so again, just a lot of different ways that you can use Book Creator in your classrooms that aren't the typical end of month kind of project. All right, so there's the Boston Tea Party. Again, that is inside the library. So if you want a copy of that, you can certainly copy that into your own. Now, to kind of piggyback on this, we talked about assign a book. We talked about making a template and assigning that template, but I want to show you a really cool kind of hidden hack. All right. So I'm going to go back to my library and I might have, this template right here, right? This assignment, and I might give it to my students. But sometimes if I give them the entire thing, and this is 20 some or 12 pages, if I give them the entire thing, then they might get distracted. Especially if I give them the whole 12 pages and I say to the kids, okay, just do pages 2, 3, and 4. Any questions? Kids will say no. I'll say get started. Hands will go up and the kids will say, what do I do on page 7? Right? And I'm like, no, just pages 2, 3, and 4. That's it. They're like, okay, cool. Kid raises his hand. What do I do on page 12? And I'm like, we're not getting it, right? So I'm sure that has happened to other people in the past. It definitely has happened to me. So instead of giving the kids the entire book, I might do this before I assign it. I might personally make a copy of the book. And then when I go into the copy of the book, all right, we're actually going to go to the original while the copy is loading. We'll pretend like this is my copy. I'm going to take the pages that I don't want them to work on, and I'm going to delete them. All right, now I only have pages 2, 3, and 4. And so I'm going to take this book. I'm going to assign this book to my students. All right, that's it. Only the pages that have like 2, 3, and 4 on it. But when I'm ready, I'm going to go to my master copy. We'll call it master copy. And I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to go to that pages view. And instead of 2, 3, and 4, maybe it's the next day. And I want them to do page 5. So I click on page 5. I'm going to copy 2. And I'm going to find that all of those student copies, right? So here's Robert's, here's Tanya's, there's Sheila's. All right, so I'm going to take those copies. All right, there's Rachel, and then I'm going to hit copy page. And guess what? When I go back and I go over to Tanya's, for example, instead of just the 3 pages, now there's the extra page that I just dumped in there. So you can push pages out to students whenever you want. All right, so again, really cool way to give kids what you want when you want it. That doesn't happen all, they don't get the whole thing all at once. You can give them whatever you want. All right, moving along. Another new feature that we have. Now, I don't know if you all use Canvas or Schoology as an LMS. I'm gonna, if you do, maybe put it in a chat window. If you're not sure, don't worry about it. But I'll keep an eye out for the chat window here for a second. The bottom line is, okay, so Sheila says no, so we're gonna pass right through this, all right, just for the sake of confusion. We're not gonna worry too much about it. All right, now for all of my people, oh, Jamie says we use Canvas. Okay, so some of you may use it depending on the grade level, some of you may not. So what I wanted to tell you about the LMS integration is that we do now have a deeper integration with Canvas and Schoology. So if you, not Canva, yeah, Canvas. So this is an LMS. Canva is a design tool. So we're talking about Canvas, which is the LMS. So I'll give you the short version. So if you are interested, you can take a look at it. Oh, never mind. Okay, so Canva, yeah, Canva is the design tool. So we'll skip over the LMS for right now. All right, so we do also have some really awesome foundational literacy templates. All right, so again, if you're interested in any of these, they are in our Discover section, but they're also linked here in this book. These foundational literacy templates are amazing. So if you teach kindergarten, first grade, second grade, any student who struggles with reading, those foundational literacy templates can be remixed right into your own library, and then they can be given to your students. All right, and so we've got things on phonemic awareness, comprehension, vocabulary, phonics. These are all for teachers. But inside of these books, there's awesome examples and ways that you can use this with your students, right? Giving book talks, right? Character analysis, motivational things from your characters in your stories. So lots of amazing example templates that you can use with your students. Maybe you're learning digraphs, all right? You want to go with SH digraphs. All of these books can be copied or remixed right here into your own library and then given to your students. And I think these are very powerful, all right, because we can write, but we can also record our voice. So that automatically makes it a little bit better, right, than the worksheets that we're used to handing out to kids. We have this option of matching. Now, what I love about this matching is that these images are gorgeous, right? These are not the grainy thumbnails that your kids are used to when you make a photocopy of something and it just comes out in black and white. These are really awesome. All right. And total side note, you're not cutting stuff up with scissors and gluing it onto a piece of construction paper and kids eating glue or getting their fingers glued together or anything like that. Right. These are really, really powerful ways to use Book Creator on a daily kind of basis, right? Based on what you're doing. And it could be in a large group in front of everybody with a board, or it could be individual groups, right? In centers. And I think those is very powerful. And I personally have used those literacy examples with my own daughter, and they have made a huge difference for her and her reading ability in her classroom. So if it can help my daughter, it can help your students as well. All right, now, library settings. All right, this is an important one. So as you are in your library, or every time you create a library, if you click the gear, you will see this library settings menu pop up. And there's a few things in here that I want to chat about just briefly, so you can think about it when you create a library. We do have the ability to choose how the image search works. By default, our image search is Pixabay, which means the images are free to use, they're free to modify, they are safe. All right, so when your students click on the plus button and they go to images, they can find images right within Book Creator. They do not have to go out to the web and find anything like that. They can go right here to Book Creator. After the Pixabay images, there is an option to search Google. And sometimes teachers don't want that. So right here where it says search for images, yes, you can say yes. You can say no, the image search is not going to be allowed this time, or you can say limited. And if you choose limited, then Google is not an option within Book Creator. All right, it's only Pixabay. So totally up to you how you use that, but that is one of the options. We do also now have the ability for students to create multiple books. Now, this is an interesting one for me because I love when kids make books. However, I have seen this happen where we are making a book about photosynthesis, and after the photosynthesis unit is finished, all of a sudden there's books in the library on grandmas, funny cats, football, whatever the kids want to make stories about, which is great. But sometimes it clogs up the library. All right. And so if you don't want your kids making hundreds of books, right, inside your library on photosynthesis, right here where it says create multiple books, you can say yes, or you can say only one book, only two, three, four, or five. So you can decide how many books your students are actually going to be able to create right inside your library. All right, which I think is really cool. Now, I did make I turned on that assignment feature for your books, and sometimes this button becomes really important where it says read each other's books. If this is turned on and you allow your students to read each other's books, when you turn on an assignment, they will see everybody's books, which sometimes causes confusion because even though the student name is underneath it, sometimes they don't see that and they're clicking into the wrong books. So what I like to do is turn this off. And then the only books that the students will see in their library are their own books and the teacher books. All right, so really awesome for kind of narrowing that focus, but also really great for things that might be personal, right? So maybe if you have a daily writing journal and you don't want kids to, share or see what other kids are writing in their journals, you can certainly turn that off. So I love that ability there to do that. All right, back to it. All right, those were the library settings. Okay, great question, Rachel. Can students edit somebody else's book or just read it? So if you have that feature turned on, then the students are able to read each other's books, but they cannot edit them. All right, the only way that students can edit other student books is if you have collaboration turned on. All right, and then by collaboration being turned on, I mean this. Here's my book. I click the share button. I click collaborate. All right, now, it's an assignment, so that's not going to work. But if I go to this one and click share and collaborate, if you want it to be collaborative, you can. You cannot do that on assignments. You can only do that on individual books. But if you don't want kids to collaborate together and you don't want them to see what other people are doing, you don't have to. All right, audio hotspots. All right, so one of my absolute favorite features in Book Creator is this one, plus button, record, and it allows you to record your voice. All right, so you just hit record, gives a countdown. Hey, Mr. Smith, today is a great day to wash cars. Stop, use recording. There's the audio button that pops up. Now, by default, the audio buttons are typically black and white. All right, and that's nothing wrong with those, but we do now have the ability to click the audio button, click the inspector, and change the color of the outside edge as well as the inside of that button. All right, so this is really cool because now I have better looking audio buttons, right? Colors of audio buttons that might match the theme of whatever it is that I'm writing about. But let me tell you why I like these even more, because there's a lot more to it if you look a little bit below the surface. So instead of just every audio button being black and white, now I can make audio buttons different colors based on the character and who's speaking. So if your students are writing stories and each paragraph has an audio hotspot next to it, and this paragraph was Betty, and this paragraph was Jillian, and this paragraph was Jojo, then you can do that and you can change the color based on who's speaking. I've got a couple teachers who are actually taking classical literature, putting it into Book Creator, and then adding audio hotspots based on time shifting. So if something is happening now, it's green. If it's happening in the future, it's yellow. If it's happening in the past, if it was like a thought or a memory or something like that, then it would be red. So there's a lot that you can do with these colors of the audio hotspots. All right, so again, you just click on your audio hotspot, click the inspector. You can change the outside color and the inside color. Now, I will caution you because it does happen. Whatever color I leave this audio hotspot, so on this page, I left it green and red. If I go to a new page and add an audio hotspot, it will remember the color from the last time. Even if you make new books, all right, it's going to remember the color of the audio hotspot that you last used. So sometimes it even throws me off, right? Because I'm expecting to see a black and white audio button and it comes out green and yellow. So just keep that in mind, that it will remember the last thing that you did. All right, the text editor. All right, so the text editor, definitely one of my favorites, and it has definitely changed. In the past, if I wanted to record my voice, I had to click the drop down after I clicked the record button, which was a little kind of weird because if I clicked the record button and then had to choose a drop down language, if anybody spoke or burped or got into a fight in the classroom or something like that, then the audio button, like it all got messed up, right? The drop down went away. It was not cool. Now you can click the drop down first. You can choose the language that you want to speak in and then click the audio button. All right, so that's a big, big difference. So now you can choose your language, then record. And then you can also go in here once your text has been created. You can have all these different formatting options, including things like colors. So if I want to just take like an ending sound here and change the color, I can. And then I simply click the done button, and then there it is, right? All of it is changed right here. And of course, if you want to continue changing your editor, your text, you can click that, click the inspector, and you can change sizes, colors, fonts, all that good stuff right there. All right. So the text editor is very cool. It also now has, whoops, it also has accent marks and math symbols. All right, so let's take a look here. A couple questions. Can you block vocabulary, much like parental controls? Great question. Unfortunately, no. There isn't a way to block like specific words within Book Creator. So if you have kids who want to click the microphone and say, bad words, then those will pop up. Now, I will say that some school systems, computers and things like that will have that kind of block on it. We do not have that right now. I always kind of tease and say I think one of the best things we could possibly do at Book Creator is hire a 13-year-old to literally just sit here and say as much random garbage as they possibly can think of, and that way we can just like block everything that the 13-year-old thinks of. Unfortunately, we don't have a 13-year-old that we hired to do that. I probably should just get my son to sit and figure that kind of stuff out. But it is a great question. And this might be a little oversimplified, but my thing that I always tell my students, or always told my students, is that the books that we're writing are going to be visible to everybody in the school district. All right. Whether that's the IT department who wants to look at it, whether that's your mom and dad that I'm going to send the book to anyway when we're finished, people are going to see that. All right. And that reflects directly on you as a student. And so a lot of times just telling kids that was enough to like deter them from putting anything goofy into a book. But you're still going to have kids that will try it. So yeah, definitely something to think about. But I'll pass that along, Robert, to the engineering team. Maybe that's something we can do in the future as a feature request or something like that. But I will definitely pass that along. Tanya, will you be doing this training again? I don't think I have this training again on the calendar, but I am recording it right now. And once the recording is done, I'm going to be passing that along to Kathleen, and she will be able to share that out with other people. So you'll be able to go back and watch this exact recording as many times as you want. Okay, so Jamie, great comment. However, I think we need to, let's address this one. So found the hard way that when you have the add comments turned on for the library, kids can leave comments for each other. And that should not be technically correct. All right. So what Jamie is referencing is right here under the under the settings, where it says add comments. This button, if I turn this on, should only allow students to add comments to their own books if the teacher wants them to reply back. All right, should not allow students to add comments to others. If you turn this off, all right, they will not be able to post new comments on their own books. Okay, my understanding, and unless something is broken, my understanding is that the only way that students can comment on other student books is if collaboration is turned on and this is turned on. All right. But if it's just the teacher or the student made a book, all right, Jamie, if you made a book in here and Robert wanted to comment on it, even with this button turned on, that should not be available unless I have collaboration turned on. So if you're telling me that with this button turned on and collaboration turned off, you're still able to comment on other student books, or students are able to comment on other student books, then I'm going to need to check into that, because my understanding is that is not the case. Only when books are turned on for collaboration. But if it is a worry for all of you, I would definitely turn commenting off. All right. And definitely don't turn on collaboration. But let me know, Jamie. And if it is something that really is happening in that manner, then I will definitely reach out to engineering for some clarification. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So feel free to reach back out to me, Jamie, johnsmith@bookcreator.com. If that is an issue, I definitely want to make sure that we can get that figured out. All right, moving right along. All right, the next one that I want to talk about is the App Store. All right, and I'm going to specifically focus on our graphic organizers because somebody earlier mentioned that. So we do have in Book Creator the ability to add additional things if you want. So when you click the plus button and you go to more, the very first time you go there, you're going to see files and embed. That's it. All right. You are not going to be able to see anything else. If you want more apps, then you're going to be able to click this button that says add apps. All right. Now, some of these apps may be turned off from a district level. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head if that's true. If they are, then you won't be able to use them. Other than that, all of these apps are turned off by default. All right. If you want to use them, you have to turn them on. So if I go to Giphy, for example, and click on it, before I turn it on, I'm going to read the privacy information. And for Giphy, we've created a little cheat sheet, nobody under 13. So if I teach anybody younger than 8th grade, I'm not going to turn this on for my students. But I can turn it on for myself. So I click Enable. I leave all of these checkboxes empty and I click Done. That turns it on for me, but it does not turn it on for the kids. Now, if I do want it turned on for kids, I'm just going to click the button at the top for all the libraries, or even choose specific libraries and then click Done. And then you'll have a little green box or a little green circle that pops up. And now I know that that app is turned on. When I go back into Book Creator and click the plus button and then click more, all of those apps that I turned on are right there. All right. And the one that I want to talk about specifically right now is graphic organizers. So I know we're looking at that, Boston Tea Party book, and you're thinking that looks really cool. I could see that in my classroom, but yikes, like I have to think about how to create that. Sure, in that situation you do. And it might take a little bit of time at first, but then you're going to have that book and you'll be able to use it forever. All right. So once you get it done, it's done. But we have these graphic organizers. So 104 graphic organizers that are already built right into Book Creator. Everything from timelines to Venn diagrams, to observation charts. This one really, I like this one right here, this problem tree. I think this is a really cool looking graphic organizer. And so all you have to do is click on it, click add to book, and it's going to add that graphic organizer as a new page in your book. And your students can simply click inside the bubbles and they can start answering questions. But like I said earlier, better yet, it's, I think, a lot more fun to just sit there and add other things. So maybe I put a drawing inside of the circle. Maybe I put an audio button. Maybe I put a video somewhere on here. Nowhere in the rule book of life did I see anybody say that all graphic organizers have to be text, right? Like, why not put something else in there? Absolutely. So, okay, good question, Tanya. So you can add Google Slides as an app. So the apps that we have, all right, are right here. And when it says Google Drive, it's not adding Google Slides as an app, but it's adding access to your Google Drive so that if you wanted to bring in a Google document or a Google slide into the book, then you can certainly do that. All right. But it's not adding it as, it's not adding the slides specifically. All right. It's all of Google. It just pulls your stuff in from your Google Drive. Okay. Now, we are coming to the end of our time, and I want to make sure I take some time to answer some other questions. And I have a couple of other fun little things that I'd like to share with you. If you are ever presenting Book Creator, right, to anybody else, maybe some colleagues at your school, or maybe you're going to do a PD day or something like that, we do have a brand new PD guide that's going to help you set up success, right, for how you're going to do your training with your teachers. So there's all kinds of great things in here, ideas. There's an actual getting started book with some great template pages that you can use, right? Talking about all of this, why your kids will love you. You'll recognize some of these. But then there's also really great examples. There's page templates that you can use to demo from. So if you want to use Giphies and things like that, you can use that. So this PD guide is right here inside this book. We do also have our year at a glance. All right, now this is a awesome website page for us. And what it does is it shows you all of the really awesome things that are coming up in the coming months, including some of our really awesome activity books that we've created. So we have an activity book already out for January. There it is. We have one for February, and then we also have one now for March. All right, and so there's some really cool activity journals in here that you can use and copy for your kids. March is Be an Author Month. We're kind of wrapping that up, but it is awesome. So if you do want to participate in Be an Author Month, you can certainly do that. And part of Be an Author Month is our TWIMA project. So we have a project happening right now where we are inviting classrooms from all over the world to collaborate together on a book. So if you want to learn more about the TWIMA project and you think that might be something worthwhile, I'll put the link to the TWIMA specifically in there. But TWIMA project stands for The World is My Audience. And this is our 10th anniversary TWIMA project. So we want students to write about who they are, where they came from, where they find themselves now, and where they want to be in the future. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these books, combine them into one giant book at the very end. And some of our favorites, we're going to have students actually read out loud on a special webinar on April 17th. So if you're interested in being part of the TWIMA project or anything else that has to do with, the Be an Author Month or anything that's happening, there's a lot of great information here. And I would definitely guess that our new April activity journal will be coming out very soon. All right, now this is definitely one of my favorites. All right, and this is just some random stuff that I have seen kids do over time. All right, now kids have superpowers. All right, and one of the things that you will find out very quickly is that kids will make Book Creator do what they want it to do, even if it wasn't meant to do that. All right. Or at least it wasn't maybe not meant to do that, but it's not the way that adults think. All right. And so I have one specific example of how I want to show this. And it was one of my favorites of most recent times. So I had a group of kids that I was working with, and I pulled up the word car under the shapes tool. All right. And I think it was this car right here. And so I brought this car onto the page. And I said to the kids, I was like, look, aren't these icons cool, right? You can add cars, how fun. And the kids are like, yes, that's super cool. And this one kid, he raises his hand, he goes, I'm not impressed. And I was like, okay, why not? And he goes, well, because the car is black. He's like, I don't like black cars. They get scratched too much. They're nice when they're clean, but when they're dirty, they get scratched and they look terrible. And I was like, dude, I'm a detailer. I'm with you. I get it, right? And so we both kind of giggled about it. And I said, well, what color do you want the car? And he goes, well, how about red? I was like, fine. So we click on the car, we click the inspector, and we change it to red. And I said, all right, you happy? Kid's like, yep, happy. He starts smiling. He walks away. Hand goes up. Little girl. I said, yes. She goes, I'm not happy. I said, okay, why not? She goes, I was like, you don't want the car to be red? She goes, nope, I don't mind the car being red. I was like, okay, what's the problem? She goes, the tires. She's like, I've never seen a car with red tires. And I was like, okay, how do you think you're going to fix it? She's like, well, how about we click the plus button? Maybe go to the pen. And we're going to choose black. And we're going to choose crayon. And we're going to make the tire, make the crayon a little bit thicker. And then we're just going to color over the red tire, right? And we're going to make the tires black. And I said, okay, that works. And I clicked done. And I said, there you go. Are you happy? She said, yes. I was like, perfect. Another kid raised his hand. I'm not happy. I And I was like, okay. I was like, why not? He goes, because I can't color inside the lines, right? He's like, it doesn't work for me. I'm not real good at that. And I said, well, what do you think we should do instead? And he goes, I don't know. And I was like, all right, well, let's think about this. And what we ended up coming up with was under the More button, under Giphy, we could type in tires. Now, if you click on tires and you choose GIFs, then this is what pops up, right? These random rectangles. Now, that doesn't make sense, right? If I add that Giphy right there, doesn't make sense. However, if you click on the Giphy button and you type in tires, and instead of clicking GIFs, you click stickers, then all of these Giphies that pop up don't have a background to them. And so now what we did is we resized this Giphy, all right, and we put it right over top of the red tire. And now the kids were like, yeah, like we're good, right? We like this now. So they had some fun with it. But the point is, like I said a minute ago, kids will figure out how to make Book Creator do what they want it to do. And it may not be what we would think about. All right, now I'm not going to go into this anymore, but we went from this to changing the color of the steering wheel, to adding a driver here, to putting a road on the page. Super, super awesome. All right, what kids can come up with. Now, inside this book, there are some other really awesome examples. All right, we've got the sun, earth, and moon. We've got World War II book in here, and just some other things. So again, as a teacher, you've got options, right? You can put it up on the board and you can work on these things together. You can do these types of activities with your kids in stations or for homework, but it is really, really awesome. So, all right. Well, that's all I have for this evening. So if you're happy and satisfied and you're ready to go on with your evening, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Be safe out there. Happy bookmaking.